Is it wrong to wish death on people? No. All right, moving on. Some people would be better if they were not alive, frankly. And I think he's one of. Hello, hello, hello. Y'all, welcome back to the Freedom Collective podcast. We got another episode to get through. We won't get through this together. Thank you for all the love and support, y'all. The podcast, per usual, I think it's doing really well. I love, love, love what we're building here together. And I'm just so excited. I am so excited to continue. Please don't forget to leave a review if you're listening. 5 stars, anything less, just like pray for a different review. And then once you reflect on that prayer, then leave a 5 star one. Kidding, but like leave a review if you can. Welcome back. Y'all, I have a lot to say this episode. It's just been pure chaos and debauchery, and I think it's high time we address it, or at least I do like a status update. This one, the title alone, because I've been thinking about this title for at least a week, and I ran it by friends. This is the less egregious title, because the one I was thinking of before would probably get me put on some lists. But let's get through the intake question first before we get into the nitty gritty of it all. And today's intake question, feel free to answer below. If you're listening, go leave it on the Instagram. Just reflect inward. I don't care. But today's question is, how do you discover joy in your daily life? I've been moving, y'all, a whole lot. So I just moved officially almost 2 weeks ago. It has been a lot of furniture building, a lot of like unpacking, packing, repacking, depacking, you name it. It's been a lot of movement, a lot of change, and it's been like really hard to find the energy. So I've had to like really lean in on finding joy in my daily life. Some of the ways I do that, phone a friend. I've talked about this before. My friends have been really supportive through this entire move. Some other ways I've done it, literally leaning into like chat with myself, right? Because I sometimes feel like I have to do everything. I feel like that one movie, Everything Everywhere All at Once, especially when I'm doing a big project like moving. So one thing that I've had to do was like check in with myself and like remind myself consistently, it's okay to sit down. It's okay to rest. Because I be having issues with that. I'm not gonna lie. Sometimes I do be having issues with sitting my butt down. So one way that I have been finding joy is like intentional rest, like not feeling like I have to run 1,000,003 errands. Like last time I stopped myself, I was like literally in the car, like panicking, like how can I squeeze in, like going to IKEA and then coming back in time for me to make my next session. And I was just like, what if I just like actually just use this time to check in and rest with myself? So that's been helping to ground myself and also to find joy in my daily practice. But I want to hear from y'all too. So if you have any way that you've been finding joy, leave it in the comments below if you're watching on the YouTube. Okay. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. Or if you're listening on the like Apple Podcasts or Spotify, just like leave it in the comment section somewhere, child. Or just reflect on your own joy. I actually had a really amazing conversation. I hosted this event with Harvard a couple weeks ago about building a joy plan. So, like, think about that, y'all. Reflect on that. How can you create joy within your daily life? With that being said, let's get to the nitty gritty. Okay. I think the president should K word himself. I do. I do. And that might ruffle some feathers, but over the last year, hell, the last decade, but this last year alone, okay, it's been so much movement, but even over the last 2 months, it's been so much movement that my head is spinning. And I know, like, they try and do that. But what really happens when we have a president who is frankly dementia down, is that we all get dragged along on this ride, and I'm ready to get off it. And because I can't say that I want him to be politically assassinated, I'm going to just say the world would be a better place if he himself. And I know, how could I say something so controversial yet so true? It's because I'm tired. And I'm sure if you're listening to this, you're tired as well. I am not saying that I will cause a direct threat to the president. I think the president should just take himself out and do us all a favor. Let that simmer for a little bit. Yeah, but I just wanted to touch on some of the recent happenings with him. Just why I'm just so exhausted, y'all. I'm so tired, and I know y'all tired too. And I know it could be so tempting to tune off and tune out when it's time to discuss these things, but we have to stay informed and we have to talk about these things because if we don't, these people get away with this stuff and we're going to be coming back for everything. Even if we got to get it in blood, we're going to come back for our things. I think this country is a hellscape, don't get me wrong. And I made a post a few weeks ago saying that I really truly believe that we share this country with fucking idiots. And I'm so tired of sharing it with stupid people, but we have to stay informed. We cannot tune out. Unfortunately, that's just it's not something we can do. So here we go. Let's just get into it. I do think the president should kill himself. I do also think that we have a president who has like a as clear cut case of dementia. All of the experts are kind of like leaning towards it. He be sundowning, going nuts on the interwebs at all hours of the night. And one thing I want to speak about, because I'm gonna just jump straight into it. This motherfucker posted an AI depiction of him as Jesus Christ resurrecting someone or healing someone who suspiciously looks just like Jeffrey Epstein. I know all of these words, haunted words at this point. Lord Jesus, let's just get into it. First, the fact that his base still thinks that he is Christian is so beyond me, but seeing them all get into a tizzy because this man posted himself as Jesus and they're acting shocked, don't act shocked. Are you shocked? Don't act shocked. Why are y'all surprised by this? This man has said before that he is not Christian on stage in front of an audience of people, and everybody just dismissed that and moved on for that a little too quickly for me. Frankly, I don't give like, let me be clear. I don't care if somebody is Christian or not. That like literally has no bearings on me, my soul. I personally don't give a damn, but it is ironic watching a bunch of people who are consistently trying to shove religious doctrine on everybody else, like let somebody who's so obviously not one of them be their leader because they're projecting onto him that they believe he's one of them. He is not. He said that he don't think he getting into heaven for a reason. Mind you, that's a dementia slip. But one thing about them patients with dementia, they will eventually slip and like share some of the evils that they've perpetuated on the world. Okay, with that in mind, yeah, no, the man he needs to be put down, and I hope he does it himself because that would really do us all a favor. Is it wrong to wish death on people? No. All right, moving on. Some people would be better if they were not alive, frankly. And I think he's one of them, but it has been just a whirlwind. But like seeing these conservatives get into a tizzy because this is their breaking point, mind you. Him depicting himself as Jesus. This is not even the first, second, or 18th blasphemous thing he's done over the course of these last couple of years, but it's just kind of wild witnessing it. Frankly, I don't give a fuck about what anybody identifies religiously. Like, it's like so long as you keep it to yourself, which we know Christians are notorious for not doing. So long as you keep your religion to yourself and not try to superimpose that on everyone else, I'm fine. I have no issues with that. Christians seem to have issue with that. Like, look, pull out your Bible, y'all. I really don't care. It's just like, stop trying to superimpose that belief onto everyone else because then you wind up in situations where you have somebody who was clearly the Antichrist, if there ever was one, leading your charge. Y'all are fulfilling your own prophecies. Speaking of which, we should not have a government built around trying to fulfill prophecies, which that's a longer conversation for another day. But I think that's a large part of what's happening globally in like the interest in trying to participate in these global wars. Specifically, I've heard this really Looney Tune like prophecy that Jesus will return when there's not peace between Iran and Israel. And they want that beef to happen because they believe that will trigger the second coming. Y'all, again, we share this country with a bunch of fucking morons. And I really hate using that language, but what else do we call it at this point? Again, somebody said asinine. I think that's an accurate assessment, but I think we need a stronger word. We need to come up with a slur for people who are conservative at this point. Conservative is enough of a slur, but like they need something stronger. They will not listen, but they do need to hear something a little bit stronger if you ask me. But yeah, they have this idea, the evangelicals specifically, that by letting Israel basically go all types of fucking wild across the globe, destroying Southwest Asia to the point where they are trying to bomb every country, stealing land from southern Lebanon. The Greater Israel Project, if you're not familiar with that, I suggest you Google it. But they be wearing pins, okay? Them IDF terrorists be wearing pins on their lapels of a map that is supposed to depict a larger land mass for Israel because they plan on annexing other countries around them, which is why they're bombing all these other countries. Again, I know it's so tempting to tune out because it could be a little overwhelming, but it's so important that we stay informed on these things because there will come a time, you can mark my words on this one, because I really do have faith and hope in humanity, but there will come a time where these people will have to answer for what they're doing. There will come a time, like fascism can only get so far. Historically, we see that fascism is not like something that can be sustained long term because people really don't fuck with that shit. They're just hateful people. And that's one of my beasts with conservatives. They're so hateful that they don't recognize that the hate is blinding them to the obvious grifts in front of them. Like these people are being used and they're making it our problem. All of that to say, we have to stay informed. What Trump has been doing in Iran over the course of the last couple of months has also been very alarming. Why? Because we have a man with dementia with nuclear codes threatening to destroy entire civilizations of people, targeting innocent civilian infrastructure, targeting schools, killing dozens of children. And trust me, this is not the type of party. If you think that I'm about to just be like, all right, well, it's just them. The Democrats laid the foundation for this shit too. We gotta pass the energy around. Everybody deserves a little piece of the smoke. But specifically right now in this context, this man he's gone fucking loony, and we have to stay informed. Like I'm gonna touch on a couple of things that he's done because I struggled over these last few weeks, kind of like sharing too many political opinions just because I get so exhausted with the online back and forth and discourse sometimes. Again, there are still people arguing about the Kamala losing the election in 2024. And look, I get it. I do get it. I understand the frustration, but it's just not, for me, it's not really going to help our current situation to focus so much on the past. But it is not even just like arguing about Kamala losing in 2024. Like, no shade, Dems and liberals, like you gotta let that one rest. I'm begging you. We have to set our sights on what's coming up because I think these next few elections, if they don't manage to find a way to completely manipulate them again, is they're going to be really important elections. But so far, the Democrats and the Democratic Socialists have been making some really good ground in kind of like combating the conservative bullshit. But we have to lock in, we have to pay attention. And I know like when we are so busy like arguing online, like we kind of take away from the work that really needs to be done. We need to be placing pressure on politicians, not arguing with somebody who lives in fucking LA about why it is that Kamala Harris is not the exact same clone copy of Donald Trump. And don't get me started on that. So many people get upset every time I say Kamala Harris was obviously the better candidate for president. Even if I don't align with everything Kamala Harris like stood for, I don't even feel the need to preface that because it's just like it's so ridiculous for people to say they're the exact same because they aren't. Starting off with like Kamala not being a rapist. Let's start there, to my knowledge at least. Like I don't know that lady, but like the point being, like when we get so wrapped up in the discourse and going against each other, like it kind of takes away from like the meat and potatoes of what's happening. And what's happening is there's a fascistic takeover like in real time happening in this country, and it's like literally killing people around the world. When they pulled USAID aid around the globe, hundreds of thousands of people died. This is for last year. When they do this public manhunt for DEI stuff, let's just, my God, I'm gonna get to that because I want to give DEI its full little attention. But yeah, what's happening in Iran is really fucked. He threatened to destroy the entire civilization of people. And I think he should start with doing that to himself. And I think we just mince our words so much that it really takes away from like the reality that we are living in a current political hellscape that needs to be severely adjusted. And we've tried so hard to, I ain't gonna say we, because I haven't been on the same type time that most people have been, but I will say so many of us try so hard to do the diplomatic approach, the nice and decent way, the performance of niceness in the public sphere that Democrats rely on to keep people complicit. We tried to do that so much that we completely just like lost a point. And this might get me in trouble because guess what? Trump is targeting anybody who's politically averse to him, which is why it's important for us to like speak up and speak louder. And frankly, if it's a crime to say that somebody should kill themselves, then maybe shit, I'll take the charge. Yeah. Back to Iran. What is happening in Iran is a gross miscarriage of justice. I think it's even more hilarious that when he tried to quote unquote negotiate the terms to get strike a deal with Iran, it was very clear that he was so unsuccessful that it just doesn't make sense. The empty threats, all of it all reeks of dementia. Okay. And we as a nation cannot afford to have somebody who is unstable running already a pretty unstable nation. This is just getting so far out of hand. My goodness. But other things that Trump has been doing that is like super egregious that people really aren't like paying attention to because everybody's so fucking hateful that they don't realize that the people that they hate not having rights means that they don't have them too. There is a trans genocide happening in the United States of America right now. And I mean, look at like some of the states that have passed legislation that stripped, I think, was it, oh my God, which state was that? I want to say Arkansas. I think it was Arkansas. One of these states that are really far down as far as like poverty. One of these states that should be paying attention to their state's budget because these states are like dirt poor have focused on, and that's no shade, okay? But when you platform conservatism, poverty soon follows. That is like statistically a thing. Like that like creates poverty. Like when Republicans are in charge, it almost always ends in financial crisis, which is why in these states where the majority of people who are voting are Republican, they are poor. But in these states, they are stripping the rights of trans people to drive. Like there was one law that was passed recently where trans people's licenses were revoked. That is so detrimental to a person being able to function and live, their ability to move, like limiting their ability to act and breathe freely. Like that is just the tip of the iceberg as far as all of the anti-trans legislations that's come out recently. And I think what happens is that so many people are so in support of transphobia because of their own like insecurity around identity. I've said this before. I've never met a baddie in my life that was transphobic, like literally ever. Like anybody who's secure in themselves, who is okay with questioning the way that life works, okay with questioning the way that like people maneuver and change, okay with people living their own lives separate of like them and the way they were indoctrinated. Anybody with a fucking brain the size of a pea is not worried about what trans people are doing. Less than 1% of the population. Nobody is worried about that, like except people who are deeply insecure in themselves. All of that to being said is that people are so hateful that they don't realize that by co-signing a movement that is rooted in demonizing people who are marginalized, that they are in turn like supporting their own downfall. Look at the economy. Because I know people like to lie and say that they are who they are, they're supporting who they support because of the economy. But look at the economy. How are them gas prices? How are the grocery prices? When you prop up people who literally want to privatize all of the public sector to the point where they're destroying public infrastructure, how are those prices looking for you? Pretty bad? Yeah, no fucking shit. We've been saying this for y'all. I'm sorry. I'm exhausted. No fucking shit. No shit that the prices that you thought would go down are like not going down. Why would they? In what universe would they? None. I'm glad that we all agree. Well, y'all probably, because some of them are late to the charge, but Yeah, the anti-trans rights, all of it, like allowing that and the anti-DEI shit to take. I'm cursing a lot, y'all. I'm so sorry. But like when you let all of these things guide you into a hateful place where you will support somebody just so you can have the right to be openly hateful, like you are going to support your own downfall. And it's like the easiest bait and switch. I keep telling y'all, like, these people are manipulating y'all. And I doubt that any conservatives are listening to this, but if you are good, you're being manipulated, you dickhead. Sorry. I gotta get these off my chest, y'all. You're being manipulated. One, I could sit up here all day and talk about how DEI is like literally mostly beneficial to white women. I could talk about how a lot of other marginalized groups of people have been kind of conditioned to think that black people are the only beneficiaries, and because they're so anti-black and they're so jealous and hateful of black people, and yes, I said jealous and hateful, that they have built themselves up to kind of support their own downfall. Asian students, and this is no shade because I love the Asian community, the parts of the Asian community that got sense, but Asian students, have y'all noticed that y'all admission rates are lower? Yeah, that is what happens when you are anti-DEI. Girl, you are the D and the EI too. Okay. But hate has literally blinded so many people into supporting their own downfall. And I just like cannot emphasize enough how much the people are being manipulated. But guess what? You get what you want because you see black people get hurt too. And I guess that's y'all's goal, right? To see black people suffer and get hurt. Last year, hundreds of thousands of black women were laid off. And I say this all the time. I will never stop talking about it because it's so fucked. And for people to think that that's just something to gloss over is so ridiculous to me. Hundreds of thousands of black women were laid off from their jobs last year. That's not even counting everybody else who's been laid off. But you're so anti DEI that tickles your fancy so much that you're willing to support and uplift people who would do that. And guess what? We have one of the worst job markets, and they're not being transparent about that, them job numbers, by the way. Just putting that out there real bad. We have one of the worst job markets I've ever experienced in my entire life. I said this before, and with respect, because I would not like try and I'm not violating HIPAA when I say this, but so many people have been laid off. Like I've had like half of my clientele have experienced layoffs, or they know people who were significant in their lives being laid off. Like everybody is experiencing this, and it's really fucking bad. But guess what? At least those black women don't have their jobs, right? Are y'all waking up? Don't even get me started on how the White House is putting out like advertisements asking gamers to be air traffic control people because one of the first places they attacked the DEI hiring was in air traffic controlling. Why? Because they thought that black people being hired as air traffic controllers because of the DEI program that simply just said like people who are marginalized should have an equal amount of opportunity to get hired in these spaces. They thought because that was the worst thing in the world, so much so to the point where look at how our airports are functioning. No shade. Is it getting better? Did we win yet? Is America great yet? Like it's just so shitty. And I know like there's such a little sidebar. There is such a culture on the left, and I mean leftist, okay? Like not liberals, okay? Because let's be real, that's center at best. But leftists, like my fellow leftists, people who are anti-capitalist, and yes, I identify as an anti-capitalist. I do not fuck with capitalism at all. Unfortunately, I have to live in this hole just like you. I try my best to mitigate it as much as possible. It is hard, but it is doable. You find your ways to interrupt it and disrupt it where you can. But yes, fellow leftists, there's a culture where we like kind of don't criticize conservatives as much as I think we should. And that is a part of my issue too, where it's like when you do like lean on the small percent, if I'm gonna say small percent. I won't say small percent, that's unfair. But when you are a part of the leftists who are equally critical of conservatives, Republicans, and Democrats, when you're equally critical of those spaces, like of those entities, it is easier for you to like really realize like that everything is fucked. And there's a culture in the left where amongst leftists where they focus so much of their energy on criticizing Democrats that they kind of let the Republicans get away with fucking murder. And I don't want to say get away with it because like there's power within leftist spaces, but I don't think the power is like really focused on criticizing the people who are actively doing fucking damage and harm. Yes, Democrats are also actively doing damage and harm, but Republicans are doing worse damage and harm, and that should be addressed. And I'm not going to bring up the 2024 shit, but like even when I back in 2024, when I was saying like, y'all, no shade, this might be the time to lock in because this man is going to do like irreparable harm and damage to a lot of communities, especially the trans community. That was one of my biggest focuses back then. And guess what? Here we are in a world where that's happening and being told things like, well, Kamala doesn't care about the trans community either. I don't know what Kamala, well, I don't know if Kamala cares about the trans community or not, but I know Kamala Harris would not be supporting and endorsing laws that like strip trans people of rights. I doubt that Kamala Harris would spend her first couple days in office making it that trans people don't exist in the Constitution, literally trying to strip them of every single right that they have. Like, I doubt that would be the case, but what do I know? I'm just a bitch who makes the biscuits. Okay. Anyways, there's just so many. I'm sorry, y'all. I got to get it off my chest because it is really frustrating. The whole Kamala Harris and Donald Trump are the same thing. And I know so many leftists like push back when I say it, but it's just like, bro, look around. Look at how many people are being harmed and hurt by this man. And I believe every president is an op, but I would rather have an opposition that is not this because now there's so many fires that need to be put out. And I understand like there are some people who identify as anarchists who want to see everything burned to the fucking ground, but there's consequences to that, real life consequences, and people get hurt and they suffer. And I don't want that. But also like, was Kamala Harris in them Epstein files? No. Kamala Harris didn't run with the cabal of PDF files? No. That was just Trump. This is where my fellow leftists lose me because sometimes it feels like we're not occupying the same reality, where it's like, no, I'm not going to say that Kamala Harris and Donald Trump are the same. Yes, I am tired of voting for the two evils like everybody fucking else. And I think that there needs to be a lot of push. And this is criticism to like liberals. Liberals do not push politicians enough. In fact, liberals get very upset when people push politicians even a little bit. I believe that Kamala Harris is not above criticism and critique, but I believe it's also fucking insane to say that Kamala Harris and Donald Trump are the same candidate. Now look at me. Now I'm back in the discourse again, talking about the same stuff that people have been talking about for the last 2 years, which is exhausting. All of that to say, we do need to be informed, but even looking at the way this Epstein shit was handled, it was really like, this is just really egregious. We have people running this country who abuse, harm, murder, torture children. And this is where I look at pan the camera towards the conservatives one more time, because it's like, for y'all to say that your values are to protect children, which we all know that they do not, the party of no free school lunches, we know that that's not the case. The party of prioritizing rich people's feelings because rich people know how to manipulate y'all enough to say like, you should be worried about your neighbor and not me. We know that they're not, we know that they don't really care about kids, but for y'all to say it and to still throw your support behind a man who is a part of that cabal, it's really insane to me. Yeah. Not only is it insane, it's also very telling about where y'all priorities lie. But that's neither here nor there. Again, for y'all to see him post a picture of himself as Jesus, and that's where your heads go, and that's where the line has been crossed. It says a lot about what you prioritize, Y'all, my goodness. My goodness, my goodness, my goodness. I know we're all frustrated, and I think this is, again, why I'm touching on these things, but I also want to highlight that Trump is also ugly. And no, I'm not just talking about his physical appearance, because I know the whole kit and caboodle where it's like, there are people who look like that who aren't like hateful and bigoted like him. So you gotta like, first off, nobody's built like Trump. I've never seen, walking out in the day-to-day life, I've never seen nobody built like that. That man is built, he's not built like a human being. Okay. First off, he's ugly. in spirit, which is the worst place to be ugly. And he's also physically ugly. But I don't have to resort to just talking about that, but I did want to throw that one in there. And he should himself. Okay, wait. Can I even say that? Here's the hoping that this don't get flagged too bad. But yeah, I stand by everything I said. If they censor me, just know I meant it. I want Cersei to know it was me. Okay. But yeah, this whole administration has been super chaotic down to the rotating cabinet. Why is it that Christy Noem's husband is out here with the big old tatas, calling himself a trans bimbo slut, but supporting an administration that really wants to strip trans people of their rights? I just think this is a clown show. And at this point, I think we all are tired. Who here amongst us is tired? I am tired, okay? I know y'all are tired too, but the rotating cabinet, getting rid of 2 women in the cabinet, the chaos of it all, like the files of it all, it's all been so chaotic and just it feels like everything is topsy fucking turvy. And I have to get it off my chest, y'all. Oh my goodness. And I just hope that everybody is finding some semblance of normalcy in all of this. And that's not to say we want to normalize what's happening. It's to say that we cannot let this dysregulate us to the point where we are not functioning, tapped in, and paying attention to what the hell is going on. Because we have to be informed. We have to know what's happening and what's going on. Because this is how stupid people get in charge when we stop paying attention, which one thing the leftists get right, and very often, is that when Democrats are in power, liberals stop working. And that is a problem. No shame. Like which God willing and such will be very soon, because I do think that man is on his last leg. But when there's a Democrat in power, I don't want to hear, because they keep saying, oh, I could be at brunch, but instead I'm out here protesting. No, you need to put the fucking brunch down. No more brunch for you, liberals. You get up and work. We have a lot of rebuilding to do because this man has pretty much destroyed pretty much any semblance of progress has been made over the course of the last couple of decades. We have work to do, and even a Democrat is going to be in opposition to that because this country is so conservative. Unfortunately, it is of my belief that the next Democratic candidate for president is going to mirror that conservatism, because guess what? The Democrats keep trying really, really hard to kind of win over this imaginary voter that is in the middle, that is super conservative. So they keep trying to like do things like in this. Yes, they do. I'm acknowledging they abandon like marginalized groups because in priority for more conservative messaging, which is not an effective strategy at all. And I think there is hope because there are people like, of course, Mayor Mamdani, who have taken the direct approach of just trying to help people with benefits, like, and helping people's daily lives improve. And if a Democrat can get up here and just say like, yeah, bro, I fucks with the minorities and the marginalized people, and also at the same time, I think y'all should have an easier time living day-to-day life, that would be more received than like trying to be fake conservative. I ain't even gonna say fake conservative, because in my mind, Democrats, especially the establishment Democrats, are just as conservative, but they perform a little bit better. Perform as in fake it a little bit better. But yeah, it's been such a chaotic time over the past couple of months. I just had to check in because also I know like so many people are just stressed out. They're unemployed. They can't afford their groceries. They can't afford to live. They can barely afford gas. Like shit is getting tough and it's getting sticky. And the last thing I want to do is disregard any of that and keep going about my podcast, talking about things like mental health without actively saying like, I think the president should K-word himself. I want y'all to know where I stand at all times. And it's not over there. It's over here. And unfortunately, also, I don't know if y'all saw recently, the Democrats, this is just me ranting at this point, y'all. I'm so sorry. But the Democrats, the DNC struck down a proposed policy that would distance the Democrats from Israel. And they said no, because they want that AIPAC money. And this is, again, I'm an equal opportunist when it comes to smoke. And the Democrats deserve just as much smoke as everybody else, because until we get Israel up out this government, we are going to be doomed to repeat these same things. And unfortunately, that was a huge part of why Kamala lost too. Again, I keep saying I'm not going to get into discourse, but see, I see it from a bird's eye view, in my opinion, where I can look at it and be like, yes, she was the better candidate. And also, yes, she definitely was dead ass wrong for like not strengthening her stance on Palestine and condemning Israel. Yes, she refused to meet with Netanyahu, aka Satan, but she could have like took a stronger stance. Yes, I'm aware that she was the VP at the time and she didn't want to go directly against Joe Biden. She was put into a tricky situation by Joe Biden, old ass. I do not fuck with that man either. The segregationist Joe Biden, but at the same time, she should have took a stronger stance. It would have like really helped her campaign, if you ask me. Because the biggest gripe that a lot of leftists have with Kamala Harris, it came down to her not standing up hard enough for Palestine. Which is like, yeah, I think that's valid as fuck too. I think it's kind of like, not really the best strategy for that to be the only reason why you like understand that this was like there was a lot on the line. But I don't think it's wrong. I think everybody who made a choice for themselves, like they thought they made the choice best for them, except for people who voted for fucking Trump. Everybody else, like if you voted third party, I'm gonna be honest, I'm not one of those people who feels the need to like jump down the throat or attack people who voted third party. I voted for Kamala, but that's because I knew that Kamala was the better option because I knew that this would be exactly what we'd be dealing with right now. And for the people like me who can see that the Democrats have a lot of fucking work to do, I frankly I think the party needs to be like completely stormed and taken over by like the younger generation of leftists, but I do understand why leftists are just not fucking with them because look at that. Like the older establishment Democrats stop people from even being able to distance themselves from Israel. It's a shit show. And frankly, I don't have a lot of faith in this nation. I'm hoping that this go around, people will like be able to get their heads out of their asses just a little bit, just a little bit. And all I can do is hope for the better in that regard. But it's better don't seem like it's coming anytime soon, y'all. I'm gonna be honest. I really do think that the damage that has been done to this country is going to take many decades to recover from, if it's recoverable from. And when I say recover, I don't mean that the problem is in whether or not the country will function. The problem is that the country is functioning and is functioning in a very like privatized capitalist billionaire first way. And people, the citizens of this country will suffer as a result, a direct result. Okay. We have a country that's being ran by a scam artist. Donald Trump is a con artist. He is ugly, and I said that before. He is busted. He don't got it like that. He ain't got no drip. He's evil. And what happens when you let a country get ran by somebody who's dementia down? What happens is that we are going to be set backwards for, not that we were forward to begin with, but a lot of things that we made tiny increments of success on are going to be rolled back, and it's going to take a really long time to recover. And it's unfortunately work that we all have to kind of like get prepared to do over the next few decades. But leftist, my and I know I get accused of not being a leftist when I say that I really thought that Kamala was the better option. I get accused of being a Democrat shill, but like whatever the fuck, I don't give a fuck about that. What I feel is like this next go round, leftists lock in. And I mean, if we like, I think the primaries will be the best opportunity to really, really push for a candidate that is not, God, please don't let it be Gavin Newsom. And I know a lot of people, because Kamala said that she was thinking of running again. I know a lot of people were like, no, absolutely not. So I think the primaries is going to be like the one chance we get to like really try and push for it. And one thing about leftists, that I really do love is that we are really good at stirring the pot and like causing some discourse online. So I think it's going to be really important for us to like really early on to get ahead of it. And when candidates start popping up, we have to really encourage people to lean in the direction of candidates that actually do good things and aren't just like in Israel's back and front pocket. Yeah. But yeah, we gotta lock in. That's it. That's my one request, that we all collectively lock in. And I do still think that the president should take his own life, do so publicly if possible. I think a few members of his cabinet, all of them, should join too. Is that wrong to say? Hmm. I guess I'll have to reflect on that. I don't know if y'all saw, but the president of the United States also said that after they finish with Iran, which Iran is walking him like a dog, so I don't know how soon that will be. But after they're done with Iran, the biggest enemy in America, biggest enemy of the enemy from within, aka people who are on the left. Yes, imagine a president who's surprised because he threatened to destroy an entire civilization. But imagine a president getting online and saying that half of the people in this country are enemies of the state. Does that sound familiar? That don't sound like a democracy. I don't know. Your comments? Oh, you're okay so long as it's not you? You don't understand that it will be you eventually? I know you have a hard time understanding, Suge. That's why we're here to begin with. Y'all, I'm so pissed at these people. Like, why is ICE at the airport? Why is ICE at the airport? Like, this is like straight up Yahtzee BS. I'm gonna be honest with y'all. This is just Yahtzee stuff. It is. Like, and Yahtzees draw inspiration from America. I know that. So it's, I think, just the perfect setting. It's just history rhyming yet again. But conservatives don't care because it doesn't impact them until it does impact them. And now everybody's in a frenzy. I just need us to break the cycle, to break the chains. Leftists, please, my loves, we have to lock in. We need to find a strategy. And I don't mean like just throw our energy and support behind any Democratic candidate that steps forward. I mean, we need to, what we going to do? I'm ready to be boots to ground. That's not a threat, but I'm ready to be boots to ground and to get things like going because I don't want to be living like this in 2029. Okay. 3 years from now, this shit need to be wrapped up. And I mean immediately. And again, it's gonna be a lot of work, but this can't be it. Okay? Goodness gracious. I'll close this out by saying, Donald Trump, I do hope that you are doing unwell. I'm not making a threat to your life because I will not do anything personally. But if you did decide to find a ceiling fan and a piece of rope and to make magic happen, I would not be upset. I don't think any of us would, many of us at least. Do it. I hope this doesn't get me in trouble, but if it does, I mean, at least I got in trouble for saying what I felt truly in my heart. Oof, y'all. Okay, let's move on to our second segment, which is Ask Dr. Durag. And I'm going to answer a question from the audience. Okay, this question is, while we're being fed more information in 1 week than people did a century ago, what is something we should consider doing to keep us grounded during such violent historical times? What is keeping you grounded? And they said they feel like they're losing their mind. Okay, perfect question for this episode. We are in an information overload, and like, I don't know if y'all are familiar with the term flood the zone, but one thing that they try and attempt to do at least is to disconnect people from their ability to feel and to like have genuine reactions to the chaos that's ensuing outside of our day-to-day lives. It is really important for us to one, pace ourselves, but two, to maintain some type of some level of being informed at the same time. It is so important for us to know what is happening around us, but understand that we cannot like over consume like what's happening around us because they are trying to flood the zone. They are throwing a lot of like crazy stuff at us with hopes that we will be dysregulated to the point where we just like turn our brains off. Like, you should feel something when you hear that a school with 70 something little girls in Iran was bombed. You should feel something and you should take a step back. If you hear news like that and you feel nothing, take a step back and make sure you actually like process what you felt because you don't want to become desensitized. That is frankly how I've been getting through all of this. If I find myself in a moment where I'm feeling like I'm getting desensitized, I take a step back and I really go over everything that I've been experiencing, and I make sure that that I'm learning, I go back and I make sure that I'm actually feeling those things because you should feel something when people are being hurt and harmed across the globe. Do not let these people desensitize you to the pain of other people or the plight of other people around the world because they are trying to. When you are consuming news so much to the point where it becomes like it can veer you in a direction of being desensitized, but please just do not get desensitized. Take a step back, take a walk, take a breath, but also make sure you are feeling when you hear things like 70 something little girls were murdered. When you hear that Israel bombed 250 people, I believe, like upwards of 250 people lost their lives because over the span of 10 minutes, you should feel something. So if you're hearing all of the news and you're overwhelmed by the news, please make sure you're taking a step back, take a breather, but like make sure you're checking in your feeling. Do not let these people disconnect you from your humanity. And what is humanity if not the ability to feel something when you hear some shit that's like fucked up? Sorry, y'all. I will do a more PG, not as much cursing one later, but this is very upsetting. And I think it's okay for us to be upset. Be upset. Ground yourself in that. Be upset. It's okay for you to be upset. Okay. Our next segment is What's Your Anthem? That's where me or guests, when guests are on, share pieces of media. It could be a song, it could be a movie, a book, anything that is keeping us entertained or at least like keeping us getting through this crazy times that we're living through. Today, my anthem is ironically going to be The Boys. The Boys, as a TV show, has been so illuminating in the sense that it really showcases how a lot of people just really lack media literacy in the United States because people don't even recognize that it's not satire anymore. It's gotten beyond satire. Like, and the second it got to the point where it had to be more blatant with its messaging, like I've seen a lot of people say that the show has gone woke when The Boys has always been that. If you know anything about the comics, which are nuts, by the way, oh my God, the comic book for The Boys, the TV show is like way crazier than the show. But The Boys has always been a critique on capitalism and what would happen if there were superpowered human beings in a capitalistic society. And I think it does a really good job of showcasing how I was watching one of the first episodes from this new season, and when they said like, "Oh, like it was AI slop," and like when they were criticizing, when they were putting people in education camps, just that type of stuff, like y'all, it's like it's to the point where it's not satirical anymore, but it showcases that people like refuse to see like the bad in like some of the choices they make in supporting politicians and things like that. Because once it starts to criticize, like, hey, it's actually wrong to do this, and because fiction is set in a fictional society, it's really like it's harder to turn your brain off because you want to feel for the main characters, you want to feel for them and their mission. And it's just The Boys has been showcasing that a lot of people are not capable of firing those synapses off. In fact, I would say that a lot of people like really hate having to look in the mirror. And I think that's a large part of the issues that we face as a society at large. Nobody wants to look in the mirror anymore, but The Boys does a really good job of illuminating media illiteracy in this country, but also how shitty this country is to pretty much everybody. So my anthem this week is going to be The Boys. I think the show is like just really wild. And I think if I had to say that Donald Trump was anybody, I think Donald Trump would be a Homelander very, very easily. Fucking deplorable human being, power hungry, narcissistic, and better off dead. That's it. That's my anthem. This is a really political leaning episode. Thank you if you stay listening at this point because y'all, I know a lot of y'all feel the same way. And I do appreciate that we can come together and talk about these things as a whole. Next, our next segment and our final segment is the toolkit. And for this week's toolkit, I'm just going to say, like, my contribution is body scans. And I'm pretty sure I've suggested this one before, but like, y'all, scan your body when you feel like that disconnect happening, when you're overwhelmed with the amount of information that that's being hurled at you. Just please take a chance, take a step back, really scan your body and just allow yourself to feel your feelings. Do not let these people desensitize you. Like I said, like you have to feel your body, feel your feelings. Don't let them disconnect you from your humanity. And I think that concludes my rant for today. This is a shorter episode, but I feel like I was concise and to the point. Donald Trump, kill yourself. Oops, who said that? Not me. Y'all, thank you so much for listening and tuning in. Per usual, please leave a review. If you have a question for Ask Dr. Durag, leave that in the comments, send a DM, send an email, hell, send a carrier pigeon if you need to. However you need to get it to me, get it to me. But I really appreciate y'all for supporting me through this. If this episode gets me in trouble, I hope y'all hold me down. Thanks everybody for tuning in again. Please just like don't let people desensitize you. You're doing a lot better than you think or know. And that's it. I'll see y'all next week. Over and out.